It's not every day a TV show comes along that's so big, so expensive, and so talked about that it becomes a true global phenomenon. A series that promised to take us right behind the palace doors and into the very private lives of the British royal family. Today, we're diving into the story of The Crown. Okay, first things first, let's just take a look at this number $260 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That was the estimated budget, which makes it one of the most expensive shows ever made. And you can see every single dollar of that on screen, from the lavish sets to the incredible costumes. It was a massive, massive gamble. Because here's the thing, for all its awards and all its praise, The Crown also became a huge lightning rod for controversy. It really started blurring the lines between what was historical fact and what was, well, made up for TV. So, how did this one show manage to be both a celebrated masterpiece and the source of so much debate? So, let's look at where this all started. The whole idea didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was actually the brainchild of writer Peter Morgan. Now, he'd already spent a lot of time thinking about the Queen, first with his movie The Queen in 2006, and then with his stage play The Audience. He basically took those ideas and blew them up into this huge, sprawling epic for Netflix. And the basic idea? It was wildly ambitious. I mean, the goal was to tell the story of Queen Elizabeth II's entire reign, all the way from her wedding back in 1947 right up to the 21st century. We're talking about nearly 60 years of personal drama and world-changing history, all packed into a single show. Now, to pull something like that off, you need a pretty unique plan. And that's where we get to the show's production strategy, especially a casting decision that, really, no one had ever tried on this scale before. It was a huge risk, for sure, but it's what ended up defining the entire series. Just look at the final scope of it. The show ran from 2016 all the way to 2023. That's 6 seasons, 60 episodes in total, and each episode felt less like TV and more like a little movie. Each one digging into a specific moment in the Queen's long reign. And this brings us to the show's boldest move of all. Instead of using a bunch of makeup and prosthetics to age up the actors over 60 years, they did something completely different. They completely recast the main roles every 2 seasons. So you had 3 absolutely incredible actresses, Claire Foy, then Olivia Colman, and finally Imelda Staunton, each giving us their own version of the Queen at different points in her life. What's so clever about this structure is that it allowed the show to just drop us, the viewers, right into a totally different era every couple of seasons. It used these huge, real-world historical moments as the perfect backdrop for all the private family drama happening behind the scenes. And they covered some huge political events, everything from Winston Churchill's resignation to the Suez Crisis. But let's be honest, it was the deeply personal stuff, like the incredibly turbulent marriage of Charles and Diana, and of course her tragic death, that really put the show at the center of a global conversation. But as the show got closer and closer to our own time, covering events that many of us remember, it kicked off this really fierce public debate. The big question became, how much of what we're watching actually happened, and how much of it was just made up for dramatic effect? And really, the debate split into 2 camps. On one side, you had the show's creators. They argued they were going for a larger truth, using fictional conversations to get at the emotional reality of what it's like to live that life. But on the other side, you had some very prominent critics. Former Prime Minister John Major called one storyline malicious nonsense. The great actress Judi Dench called the whole thing crude sensationalism. They actually demanded that Netflix add a disclaimer to the show. And then, just when you thought it couldn't get more interesting, a very surprising voice weighed in. Prince Harry. He actually commented on the show. He said, it's not strictly accurate, but it does give you a rough idea of the pressures of that lifestyle. What an incredibly nuanced take to hear from someone on the inside. So, did all that public pressure make a difference? Well, yeah, it did. Netflix eventually did add a disclaimer. They put it right in their official descriptions and trailers, calling the show a fictional dramatization that was inspired by real events. So, where does that leave us? After all the awards and all the arguments, what is the ultimate legacy of The Crown? Well, it's complicated. It's this incredible picture of both critical triumph and very public controversy. You can actually see the show's complicated story right here in the numbers. Look at those early seasons, critically beloved. It peaked with season 4, the one that introduced Princess Diana, at a massive 96%. But then, as the controversies really started to heat up, you see the scores for the final 2 seasons take a pretty big dive. It kind of reflects that growing public unease. But let's be absolutely clear. Despite all that debate, The Crown was a monster critical hit. It won the Emmy for Outstanding Drama Series, a couple of Golden Globes for Best Drama, and just an entire shelf full of awards for its actors and creators. I mean, by any measure, it was a true television landmark. And that's the real paradox at the heart of The Crown, isn't it? At the exact same time, it was being celebrated as this masterpiece of television and condemned as a source of pain and anger for the very family it was about. It was a triumph and a flashpoint all at once. Which really leaves us with one final big question, a question that gets to the very core of the whole debate around The Crown, and really any historical drama. When we tell stories about the past, what's more important, sticking to every single provable fact or capturing the emotional truth of the story?